Hey everyone, welcome back and thanks for tuning in at this late hour. I was a little busy today. One, we had Bitfarms update for April. We had also Riot provide their Q1 results. I had to punch in a bunch of numbers. And then I also had to go to my son's school band concert. So that kind of ended late. Came home, showered, and got ready for the show. So here we are. So today was actually a pretty good day for May. First day of May, and we are in the green, not only with Bitcoin and miners, but we have all of this to cover. So we got Bitfarms and Riot, no more growth. We'll talk about it. I don't know if we're going to talk about it in the beginning before we get into Bitfarms April update and Riot's Q1 financial results, or we'll talk about it at the end, but we'll talk about it at a certain point. We have also more good news on Bitcoin adoption here, and so we'll talk about that. Then we'll get into Q&A. So we have a lot to get through here. You guys know the drill. As always, not financial advice. We're going to only do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin started out pretty good for May. We were up quite nicely today. On it, we were up to 2.49% in the plus, which is good. We had a high of 97,546, a low of 94,136, and we closed at 96,524. So a good start, right? When we looked at the M2 supply for the global supply, it looked like with the offset, Bitcoin would start pumping in May, and it's starting to kind of pump. We'll see if it continues going up higher throughout the month here, but at least right now we're having a good start. So we'll take it as always. We also had Bitfarms miners being up, right? So Bitfarms was up 3.1%. We had Bitdeer being up quite nicely, 6.37%. Cypher even better, 9.3%. Cleanspark was up 6.12%. It was higher at one certain point. It was like almost 8%, 9%, and then came back down a little bit towards the close. CORZ was up 5.56%. That one is now above the 50-day simple moving average. Hive was up 4.14%, also above the 50-day simple moving average here. It kind of closed on the line there, so that's looking pretty good here. Hut 8 up 9.75%, again above the 50-day simple moving average, and actually closed above it. That might be a good sign here for them. IREN was up just a little bit here, 4.26%. Mara was up 5.09%, still above the 50-day simple moving average. Riot was up 7.32. It went above this 50-day moving average, and then it closed below it here. So it is battling with it. And then Wolf was up nicely today, up 16.55%. It is now square above the 50-day simple moving average. A lot of these guys have been battling with it, and now are above it. So that's a good sign here going for us. Going forward, things should be really, really good. Going forward, as long as Bitcoin goes up in value. That's what we're really waiting for here. MicroStrategy was up just a little bit here today, 0.39%. It was up higher, quite a bit higher actually. We got up to $403.90, came back down towards the end of the day. Possibly some profit taking here happening on MicroStrategy here. It's had a nice run up here recently. If we look at it from the bottom to where it got up to the top, it was up 70%. So, and now it's up only 61%. So I think there's just some profit taking happening there. Galaxy was up nicely, 9.72% as well. This one has continued to have a nice run up here on that one. Ever since the news came out that they got the deal with CoreWeave, this thing has been on a nice ride here, up 113%. If you got into that one, congratulations there. And we had the smaller miners up mostly here, with some being down here. Mawson was down, Canon was down, but otherwise Annie, Argo, BitDigital, Digihost, and DMG were both up here, with Argo being up the most here, being up 7.34%. The ETFs were up nicely, with WGMI being up the most as well. So it was a good start to the month of May for us. And we can see here on this chart here, Bitcoin's up 2.6% in May so far, which is good. We'll take it. We want a green month. We want a couple green months here. We need a lot more green months to get Bitcoin above 150,000, maybe even like to 180,000 by the end of the year. But this is good. We'll take it. And then here's a good news story that we do have here. Well, let's take a look at the ETF inflows here on the last couple of days. We're going to get one for May. We're still waiting on it. We had positive inflows with, if we get BlackRock to report positive inflows, we'll be positive. So that's good news. One good news story that we have here is from Morgan Stanley. So 1.5 trillion Morgan Stanley to offer Bitcoin and crypto trading to E-Trade clients. I am an E-Trade client there as well. I do have not a lot there. I think I have my son's. The only thing I have right now is my son's savings and investment account there. That's about it. But if they offer other things, I may move over there. But I like the other platform that I'm using right now more so. So that's good news, right? Adoption, more access points for people to get into it. A lot of people have E-Trade accounts, and this just will help people get on board. So this is great news here. All right, so let's talk about the two miners here that have reported today, Bitfarms and Riot. Riot reported their Q1 results, and Bitfarms reported their April production update. And both of those guys have pretty much stated that they are no longer looking for growth in Bitcoin mining operations. They are both concentrating their efforts towards HPC AI business. So is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Time will tell, right? You guys know me as a Bitcoin kind of bull here on the miners and things like that. That's why I got into them. This whole, excuse me, this whole space with HPC AI is still unknown. And I've been kind of hesitant. I've been also kind of on the sidelines of this for the most part. I look at it, if you can get a deal that it's going to be a positive or a plus, a bonus basically for these guys. And I've been skeptical, to be honest. We've been talking about this for pretty much a year now, ever since we had the story with CoreWeave and CORZ Scientific come out last year with them getting a very, very nice deal. And it's taken a long time for anybody else to get anything concrete or significant as close to what CoreWeave got with CORZ Scientific there. But we saw TeraWolf excuse me, provide us with something in December of last year, right? They got a deal with Core 42. It's a nice deal. Also, if they can extend it out to the 15 years of lease there, that's going to be, multi-billion dollars for them as well. Excuse me. And then we just saw here Galaxy get a deal with CoreWeave again. So CoreWeave is the one that has been really hooking up with these kind of miners, or what do you even call them, data center providers that were Bitcoin miners before and are transitioning over into becoming HPC AI providers, or basically data center providers. Now, why is that? I think the reason for that is CoreWeave needs to get into these buildings as fast as possible. Building out would take them a couple years, 2 to 3 years at the very least at that point. And these guys can transition their buildings and things like that much faster, to about a year and a half to 2 years at the most. So that's still faster than what they could possibly build out. The other hyperscalers, we've heard rumblings that maybe Meta is working with Hut 8 at a Louisiana facility there, but nothing concrete. And then we've heard from IREN that they had some interest from a hyperscaler about their site Clearwater. Other than that, we've had others provide that they've had talks with hyperscalers, but there has been nothing concrete happening here. And if the demand for HPC AI and, mostly for AI, I guess you could say, is that strong, and the demand is just such great in need there, you would think that a lot of these hyperscalers would be like trying to quickly sign up some of these sites and lock them in. But we're not seeing that. And what the reason for that is, I don't know. I don't know if they're just doing really good due diligence on those sites, and if there's anything of concern there, which I don't think there is for those guys. It could be just the deals. Hyperscalers could possibly want to get in and just lease the land that has the megawatts associated with it and not deal with the miners in general. I think that's kind of what we maybe are seeing here. The other option for them would be to partner up with the miners and have the miners build out a data center that they then manage, and then the hyperscalers pay the miners, like kind of CoreWeave is doing with some of their contracts with Galaxy and CORZ Scientific as well. So that's another option there. And then the third option would be just to kind of possibly have the miner also build out a complete data center and also equip it with machines that then hyperscalers would lease. So there's three options there that are a possibility for them. And the fourth possibility would be just try to buy out the sites completely, right? Going at it that way and build them out the way that they want them. So there's really four options for it. And I believe the first option, which is to lease out the land, is the least attractive to the miners. You're not going to get as much money if you build out a data center and lease that out. Per megawatt wise, kind of the similar thing that CORZ Scientific is doing and Galaxy is doing, right? So that's not a good thing there. But then them also pausing Bitcoin mining, not adoption, but Bitcoin mining growth. Both of them have stated that they are, well, at least Bitfarms has stated they are set for the next year to 2 years and not going to be growing in Bitcoin mining at all, while they concentrate on HPC AI data centers things. And during the Q&A side of things, during Riot's Today Q&A conference call, they were asked about this. If you don't get anything, a kind of deal for the megawatts for HPC AI, would you then possibly go into Bitcoin mining? And Jason Less stated there, no, They're full on board with HPCI. I don't know if that's short-sighted there. I don't know if it's a good plan. Time will tell. I would think that if you can't get a deal within a certain amount of time, and there's, I mean, you may have talks and things like that, but if nothing materializes within, I would say 6 to 9 months, I mean, are you going to continue on down that path, which has no results, or are you going to maybe at that point transition? We've seen Riot in the past be very bullish on Bitcoin mining. They were saying that they're not looking to get into HPCI. Later on, they changed their tune a little bit. They're like, well, if we get a good deal, maybe we'll think about it, right? We also have that optionality to possibly do it. And then they got some activist investors investing in their stock, and that's when they really went full bore into HPCI, and we'll see if anything materializes it. I hope it does for them, not only for them, but everybody else that's trying to get into the space, because right now it's been a lot of talk and no action really from these guys here. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall and actually hear the conversations that are happening right there. We don't have that insight, so we really don't know what's going on there. Only thing we can go by is what we're being told, and right now it's not much. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next 6 to 9 months. If they get a deal, that's gonna be fantastic. If they can't get a deal, at that point, I think you start going, okay, well, especially if Bitcoin does go up to where we think it's gonna go up, and maybe have an extended cycle, that might, so there's a couple ways to look at it. Let's just say that Bitcoin does go up to where we think it's gonna go up, and we also have the network hash rate kind of go up, maybe not as much, right? Especially when we have miners that are talking about not growing their hash rate. That's going to put a little bit more or a little bit less strain on the network hash rate going up as fast. So if Bitcoin does go up nicely and the network hash rate goes up gradually, that's going to bode well for the miners that are expanding and also, mining right now, because you're still going to generate more probably revenue if Bitcoin goes up in value, and as long as the hash rate doesn't go too fast. But if you have other miners also picking up the hash rate and other miners in the world growing their hash rate, and if Bitcoin goes kind of sideways, flat, whatever it is, or we get into a bear market, well, they're going to be generating a heck of a lot less at that point. So there's multiple ways you can look at it and see where things are going, but basically what I'm seeing here, the space that's Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ecosystem, and the miners that take part of it, I believe it's going to be growing. It's going to be growing a lot more here in the next couple of years. Plus, I think the adoption and everything else we're seeing is going to lead to an extended cycle with Bitcoin. We're not going to have the prior cycles that we've had before where it's a major pump and dump, where we go up 17, 20, 30x, whatever it is on Bitcoin. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we will go up gradually. Percentage-wise it's going to be lower, but dollar-wise it's going to be higher as time goes on. And we're not going to see those kind of big dumps as we've seen before as well. So going back to the miners that are pausing expansion on Bitcoin mining, I don't know if that's a good thing. We'll find out. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys think that's a good thing or not, but we'll take a look at it. In 6 to 9 months, was that a good call or was it not? Depending where Bitcoin's at. But yeah, that's it. So let's get into the stories that we do have here, which is obviously on Bitfarms. We'll get into Bitfarms first for their operational update, and then we'll get into Riot as well. So Bitfarms provides their April 2025 production and operations update here, and a lot of stuff has been rehashed. They talk about the securing the financing there for up to possibly 300 million here. And then here it is, right here. We are confident this partnership will not only accelerate our build out at Panther Creek, but also open doors to future opportunities with Maguire as we look to scale our project and potentially expand to other sites within our portfolio. Amidst the surging AI revolution and the growing demand for power and infrastructure, this financing arrives at a pivotal time, and I would agree, right? Maguire does have some connections there. Maybe they can point somebody into their location, potentially. There's a possibility there. But here, this is the part that I didn't really like too much, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. Our Bitcoin business is strong, and we remain bullish on mining economics with our newly upgraded mining fleet. We have no need nor plans for a large miner purchase in 2025 or 2026. So they're saying large purchase. Maybe they will buy, 1 exahash here, 1 exahash there. I don't know, based on that, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be buying anything like 25 exahash or something like that. So enabling us to focus our efforts on developing U.S. energy and HPC infrastructure, which we believe will create lasting shareholder value. I can see how they believe that. There's a lot of demand for AI and everything else. If you can get a good customer in there, that's steady revenue, right? If you look at prior cycles of Bitcoin, it looks very appealing. But if we look at forward and possibly get an extended cycle, well, maybe not. Time will tell on that one. But yeah, so going back to them, putting basically a pause on any growth here for the next year and a half, basically, that we're in. We'll have to see where the network hash rate goes, where Bitcoin price goes, and it, as long as Bitcoin price goes up faster percentage-wise than the network hash rate goes up, they're still going to probably generate more and more revenue from it. The only time that they would actually generate less revenue from Bitcoin mining is if Bitcoin is flat and network hash rate continues to increase here, which we've obviously seen over the years that network hash rate just continues to increase. So that is a possibility there. And then the other possibility is, I'm wrong about the extended cycle and Bitcoin goes into a correction in 2026 after a nice maybe bull run here in 2025. And then at that point, they're going to be generating less and less regardless, right? But then so is everybody else. So we shall see. But here's their update for production. 268 Bitcoin mined here, 19.5 exahash, same that they had in March. And then they had energized capacity, 461 megawatts, so same thing there. No growth really here on any of those things. And then they have exahash under management, so that's 19.5 exahash under management, which I think a very, very small portion of that is for hosting. So it's kind of, we'll figure that out as time goes on to see if we can fine tune that even further. April financial update here. So treasury of 1,005 BTC, down from 1,140 BTC last month and representing 94 million based on the Bitcoin price of 94,000 at the end of April. They did mine 268 Bitcoin. So they sold about 400 some odd Bitcoin here, looks like, in April, which is quite a bit, definitely more than they actually mined here. Probably cover operations and maybe a little bit of growth. I don't know, some other plans that they got going on here. We'll see. So let's take a look at the sheet that I got here for them. Currently, they have about 553 million shares outstanding, market cap 570 million. Performance over the last 12 weeks, well, from 12 weeks ago, it wasn't great. 8 weeks, it wasn't great. From 4 weeks, they're actually doing pretty good, 34%. And then last week, they were up 23%. So at least the last 4 weeks have been pretty good. Current hash rate, I'm at 18.7, right? They're at 19. They're saying something like that. So I think part of that is hosting there. They were supposed to get to about 21, but I think they're kind of tapped out as it is right now. We'll see if they get the other, 2 or 3 exahash in later on. Bitcoin HODL 1,005, value 97 million right now. And then you can see their production here peaked in March of 2025, so the prior month. They're down to 268 right now as it is a little bit. And revenues were down a little bit as well. Plus, we had a shorter month. We only had 30 days in the month of April, and we had in March 31 days. So if they are mining, they probably would have came close to what they mined in March at the time. So wouldn't have been too bad. Pretty close to that. Let's see, your hash rate stayed the same. Bitcoin HODL has been coming down here. They got to a high of 1,260 and have been coming down with it. Bitcoin sold 403, so you can see how that they sold definitely more. They sold about 34 million. And that BTC per exahash efficiency, 14.3, which is actually pretty good there. And then let's get into institutions here. We'll get into some other stuff here in a second. But institutions did increase a little bit to 226. Shares also increased to 141.8 million, but the percentage went down because they had, they purchased Stronghold, right? They got that purchase that was back in, that was done in March. So that's probably why there was quite a bit of dilution there. We still have 6 strong buy ratings, 2 buy ratings. Price targets for them are 450 for the high, 325 for the average, and $2 for the low on it. So kind of in line where I have them more or less, a little bit lower, but still pretty close. And then for the month of April here, they were mining for approximately 25.4 days out of the month here. And that's pretty consistent with what they had in March as well, 25 days. So a little bit better there in mining side of things. So they mined for like basically one more day in the month because it was a shorter month, one less on it. And that got us to 23.166 million in revenue for them. And then, so that's actually pretty good. That's not too bad. But I would have liked to have seen some more growth from them. I'm sure some of you guys would have as well. But at least right now, we won't have any large growth happening here going forward. And maybe some small growth. Maybe they get, 500 petahash to maybe a couple exahash added on later on this year. We'll have to wait and see on that one. All right, so based on this and the numbers we have here for April, multiply times 12 months, I'm looking at 377 to 565 for them. If we use the values for the last 3 quarters in the current quarter that we just ended, Q1, I'm between 280 and 419. That's kind of more in line with the analysts there at that point. So are they undervalued? Yeah, they're definitely undervalued in my opinion. All right, they should be valued much higher than where they are right now, but everybody is kind of undervalued as it is. So we'll see how they continue to do. We'll see if they can get HPCI deal. We'll see if they grow their hash rate any further. Doesn't sound like it, but we'll see on it. And then we'll see where Bitcoin goes, obviously, with them, with everybody else, and all that stuff. So not too bad. Good operation still. And yeah, we'll see how they do. Okay, so that's it on that one. Let's take that off. And let's take a look at Riot here. So Riot provided some numbers as well today. They came out with their Q1 financial results. Let's get into that. They did provide some stuff in here. I'm not going to get into a lot of the details, but just some things here. So here's what we got. So during the first quarter of 2025, Riot continued to make significant progress on the development of our HPC or AI HPC data center business. In March, Altman Solon completed the feasibility study, which highlighted several factors making the Corsicana site a particular attractive asset to data center tenants. They got megawatts, right? They have megawatts and they got access to water and access to fiber. Makes it attractive. We are also further increasing the attractiveness of the site by acquiring additional development land near the Corsicana facility, enhancing connectivity to the site through addition of a new fiber lines, and expanding water access on site. The construction work on the substation to be completed in early 2026 also continues and will bring a total of 1 gigawatt of power capacity online once completed. So that's still a ways out, basically 9 months out, maybe 9 to 12 months, I'm guessing, for that to happen. And maybe when they get closer to that, maybe they will get a deal with Hyperscaler or something like that. But in the meantime, we got nothing. We got to talk about it, but that's about it. And then we'll get into the financials here on the sheet here. But here's what we got. So going down here, Riot also increased the number of shares. I need to increase this as well. They didn't dilute that much in the first quarter. They only diluted about 2%, which is kind of good. Almost right to update that. But going down here, so 357 million shares outstanding right now. Stock price as of today, 777. Market cap, 2.7 billion. Performance over the last 12 weeks. Well, 12 weeks ago wasn't great. 8 weeks ago was, okay. And then the last 4 weeks, they're up only 8.8. Last week had a good week. A lot of miners had a good week last week. They're up 20.28%. Going down here into their revenue numbers, revenue have been increasing, which is good to see. Their operations have been getting much better when it comes to Bitcoin mining. That's also good to see. We'll see what their numbers come in like for April here, but right now they're looking pretty good. Current quarter estimate, this is actually Q1 numbers here that I had for them. I still haven't plugged in Q4 numbers for them, or Q2 numbers for them for April, May, and June yet. Once I plug that in, that will change here. Okay, last recorded operating costs, self-mining depreciation, minus depreciation, came in at 74.82 million. So that's been increasing as well. Custom mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation came in for me at 48.9 thousand. Bitcoin mine quarterly up a little bit here to 1,530 from 1,516. A little bit of growth, but still growth. We'll take it. Debt to equity, lower is better. They're at 0.0473 right now, which is good. Current ratio, higher is better. They're down a little bit to 3.2. Not a big deal there. Still plenty of cash. Total current assets right now has come down to about 450 million. And then the total current liabilities is about 139 million, 140 million, not billion. So sorry on that one. Going down here into their results here. So if we look at their stuff, and we'll look at this stuff here in a second, some of my metrics here. Current assets, we talked about that, about 450 million as it is. Total assets about 3.7 billion. So they're not even being valued on their total assets right now. But we have to subtract some of the liabilities there as well. Current liabilities, 139 million. Total, let's see, current total, and then total liabilities is 774 million there. On them, nothing came out that was kind of surprising here on this stuff here at least. Revenues, we'll take a look at that as well. Mining was 142, so I came pretty close to that. I was off by 0.02%. Love seeing that. Engineering went up to 13.9 from 11.5 from the prior quarter. Other revenue actually came down to 4.6 from 7.8. So little swap there looks like between those two. On that, cost of revenues here, mining did come up to 74 from 61,000, or 74 million from 61 million here. Engineering was 11 million, 11.8. So that actually came down from 13.9, so that was good. What else do we have that kind of selling and general administrative went down to 71, but they did state that a lot of it was for legal fees, which they obviously just finished up the legal battle with Rhodium. They had to pay a pretty penny on that. I'm guessing that's going to be in Q2 results, so we'll see that appear there. Depreciation came down a little bit to 77 from 82 as well. And then Bitcoin change in fair value, right? 208 million, that's an expense there. That went down. Change in fair value of derivative assets, that was actually a plus there, 41 million here. And what else do we have here? There was a let's see, impairment of long-term investment. Where was the one for Bitfarms? I thought I saw that here someplace. Where was that one? It was in here someplace. Income loss, other. Was that it? I don't think that was it. There was another one. Where did it go? Change in fair value, casualty impairment, goodwill impairment. Oh, where did I see that? Because they do have an investment in Bitfarms there. Where did that one go? I'm drawing a blank right now. I saw it when I was putting the stuff in. Again, on exchange of equipment, that wasn't it. Which one was that? Oh, appreciation for. Sorry, maybe it's down there. Maybe it is down here that I saw it. Let's see. Oh, I think there it is. Here it is right here. Unrealized loss on marketable equity securities. So that would be Bitfarms. They lost another 63 million on that, it looks like. So definitely increased. Obviously, Bitfarms stock went down quite tremendously here in the last 3 months in the first quarter. So that's a result of that. So you can see that total other income expense definitely up here, 62 million on that. So income loss before income tax was 295 million. Whereas they had a positive 138 because of Bitcoin going up in value during Q4. Net loss, which was 296 million compared to a positive 137 million. So they were down 90 cents on the dollar here, or per share on it. And yeah, so not a great quarter for them, mostly because of Bitcoin FSB revaluation and the loss on Bitfarms' value there on the number of shares they had there. So that wasn't a good bet by them to try and buy Bitfarms out. Maybe if they were successful at it, put in a higher bid, they possibly could have done better with it. But they did what they did, and they are where they are. All right. So based on all that, it wasn't too bad. We knew things were going to be bad because of the FSB rules, and we knew Bitfarms was going to be a cause of it. Also, the share value going down there on it. What else did we take a look at here? So we talked about, obviously, cost to mine, right? Came in at 48. If you look at cost to mine 1 Bitcoin without depreciation and other things, you're looking at 250,000. That's pretty high. Debt to equity, current ratio, we covered that. Book to value equity is 2.9. And then we got price to book ratio 0.943. Enterprise value 1.5. EBITDA is negative, actually. EV to EBITDA is negative, and debt to EBITDA is negative. Revenue was 161 million here. General administrative was 71 million of that. So that's still 44% of that. That's still really doggone high. Why can't they get that down? Well, they're paying themselves pretty well, and that's why. That and other costs and everything else for legal fees and things like that being included in that doesn't really help. They got to really get that down because this is just ridiculous. If you were a private company, would you be able to do that? No. You'd want to keep that as low as possible. You'd be trying to get that under 10%. But they got ways to get more money. ATMs, convertible debts, share-based compensation, all that stuff goes into it. So I'm always going to harp on the companies for that. I just think it's a little too high and too excessive on it. So, I mean, we knew it was going to be bad, and it is bad. But the silver lining in this is Bitcoin going up in value, gets above, obviously, where it was at the beginning of the quarter to a higher number. That'll help out with the FSB for them. They should be positive at that point as well. But they got to get their costs down, nonetheless. For Bitcoin mining in general, overhead, everything else, they got to get the costs down. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they need to get the costs down. So that's just my 2 cents on it. So we'll see. I mean, right now I'm between 1523 and 2285. They're at 777. So I do think that they are still undervalued. Based on this, they're not being properly valued. None of the miners are being properly valued right now. A lot of them also have short positions on them. So it is what it is. But I think in time, Bitcoin going up in value will help out the miners as well. And the miners should do much better. But we need Bitcoin to go up. All right, that is it. As always, spreadsheets are available to my Patreon members. Link for that is down in the description if you'd like to join. it's a couple of dollars a month, and you get access to all these charts, all this data that I have on these guys, and it goes back actually a number of years. A lot of the data here, because if you look at the chart, here are the tables, especially on like some of the data here we have on the miners, that goes back to, I mean, we're all the way at column HS and further beyond that. So we got plenty of data on these guys. And same thing with the quarterly results. We got data going quite a ways back as well, about 2 or 3 years now on some of these guys. So the data is there. It's accessible if you want to get it. All right, that is it. That's my sales pitch. Let's get into Q&A here, see what you guys have to say. And as always, if you could preface the question with a question mark or a Q, I would appreciate it. I'm going to, go back up on all the comments, see if we can find some questions. I'll work my way down, and we'll get through it. And thank you for the thumbs down, somebody. All right, what do we got here? So, but BTC goes to 150,000 miner estimates. Well, that would only be roughly from where we are right now. What are we looking at? About 50% increase. At that point, I think the miners should do at least the bare minimum would be probably like, at least 100%. That's that's where I would think they would do. Okay. Neville says, my prediction BTC will mostly follow M2, but get dinged and knocked off its path due to pending technical recession. However, it won't be enough to buck the trend. BTC will continue to break all-time highs. I would take that. Let's see. Neville says, then a tariff deal with China or the EU gets announced, and that will be the blow off top and potential short squeeze on miners if they haven't let it run by then, sending it over to 200,000 for Bitcoin. That would be fantastic. I'd love to see that as well. Ryan says, I'm an E-Trade client. Schwab has better fills, but they cost more. Yeah, I actually have both. I got Schwab, E-Trade. I did have Robinhood as well, but I'm now mostly on Webull. Okay, what else here? Neville continues to say here, BTC is developing the properties of a gold while keeping its other attributes intact. Miners will win big this year. That's awesome. Good to hear. LP, hey Sebastian, comparing the cycle to the last one, I noticed that miners began their uptrend in January 2020, continuing alongside Bitcoin until February 2021. Yeah, 2021 was when we had the news from China about the Bitcoin mining ban there. That's the reason why they went down. None of the miners actually went back up to their previous all-time highs towards the end of the year, except for Mara. Mara followed Bitcoin more so than the other miners did. That one went back to its previous all-time high, and I actually think beat it as well. So yeah, that was kind of the reason for it. I don't know why some of the other miners didn't follow suit like Mara did. I think Mara at that point was saying that they're getting to, what was it, 21 exahash at that point or something like that. They were, buying all these miners and things like that, but they didn't have the place to put them into. And they got extended out a year and a half out later than they were expecting. So that, I think, helped them. Gosh, sorry, my throat. I think that helped Mara to pump Mara's stock up when they were talking about, growing to 21 exahash the following year, something like that. Let's see. LP says, however, we're now in May and we haven't seen a similar rally. Given this, I believe the cycle may underperform. What are your thoughts? I don't think the cycle is over yet. So I'm still kind of bullish on the miners here. And I'm thinking, yes, the cycle is definitely not the same that we've seen in the past. That's why I'm thinking a lot more that it's going to be an extended cycle this time around. With everything happening with Bitcoin, all the adoption, all this, we got states possibly putting it on their reserves. We got countries, we got companies now buying it left and right as well. So that's going to put a squeeze on the price. It's going to squeeze it upwards. There's just not going to be enough Bitcoin for everybody, and I believe the price is going to go up. And it's going to, go up possibly for a longer period of time than what we're used to. But we'll see. And then let's see. LP says, however, we're not. Yeah, we talked about that one here. Neville says it must be that IREN seems to getting passed up. Bitfarms may actually just land a deal before them. It might happen that way, right? A lot of times it's who you know and not what you got, really. We've seen that kind of with TeraWolf a little bit, getting the deal with Core 42. I think it's because of people that they knew. They had investors from, Stanley Drunkenmiller invest in them. He's got some connections. Did that help? Maybe. It definitely never hurts there. Sour Melon, I'm not going to repeat your comment there. Let's see. Question here. What did you think of MicroStrategy Q1 earnings? Appreciate your thoughts. I haven't had the chance to take a look at those. I'll be looking at those probably tomorrow to see where they came in at. Like I said, I was busy this afternoon getting Bitfarms and Riot data in, and then I had to go to my son's school band concert. So I was pressed for time today as it was. All right. Neville says, wow, Jason's comments, that's either complete confidence or an implicit way of waving a warning flag. I don't know. Let's see. Now it makes sense why Riot went so hard. For Bitfarms, both companies may need each other more and more as time moves on. They don't need each other. They both have plenty of cash. Well, Riot more so than Bitfarms, and they're both going their different paths, but they're both kind of going the same kind of path too, right? They're pausing Bitcoin mining potentially here. They're going for HPCI as well. They're kind of doing the same things, surprisingly. Okay. Thoughts on Quantum Expedition closing their crowdfunding? Yeah, that ended, when was it? Yesterday, I believe. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a skin or bone in this, in their fight, so I wish them all the best, right? I think they're going through this the right way as far as growing their mining is concerned. I like the fact that they're going for the stranded gas, for natural gas, all those things. It seems like they're doing the right things. They're very, very small, obviously. It's going to be hard for them to keep up with the big guys, but as long as they keep the costs down, which they seem to be doing, I wish them all the best. It is a tough business to be into if you don't have a lot of funding. All right. Let's see. Question. Sorry, said my site is a bit slow. I'm sure you spoke about it, but how do you feel about Riot earnings? Yeah, I mean, talked about it also. It is what it is. We kind of knew that it wasn't going to be great. FASB impact, also Bitfarms shares being down, right? That's going to impact them as well. So we knew those things were going to be there. Plus, they talked about it on the conference call that the legal fees are in the SG&A. So that was still high. I'd love to see that come down. I'd love to see their costs come down as well. I'd love to see improvements in those things. Not a big fan of having those huge SG&A expenses. But overall, it was pretty good. As far as mining was good. Mining has definitely improved for them. All right. So Gary says, question, Riot's all-in cost to mine Bitcoin in Q1 announced today was $131,000. The HODL miners can't mine competitively with miners like Cypher and IREN and 3 Cent Energy, so move to AI HPC is the only option for them, possibly, right? But that's why you got to get the cost down. And they're just paying themselves, I think, too much. It should be based on profitability. I mean, if you're profitable, you can then pay yourselves handsomely. But until then, you get paid like a bare minimum. You get paid, $500,000 a year for the CEO, and that's it. But we're seeing expenses of $73 million a quarter. I mean, you multiply it times 4, that's $300 million for what? I just don't get it there. I honestly just do not get that kind of mentality there. Okay, I talked about that. Let's see. Gary says, IREN trying to find a hyperscaler for a 2 gigawatt site is substantially more difficult to get signed. That super tiny sites Bitfarms is trying to find a partner for. Yeah, I think the big sites too are much more possibly difficult to get a deal on that. I mean, historically, at least this is my thinking on it. I could be wrong on this as well. But I think if you're a hyperscaler, you're looking for multiple sites in different regions and different areas. You don't want everything to be, a 2 gigawatt site in one location. If you get a tornado going through that site, you're out for possibly months, maybe even a year, depending on the equipment, and you can get the equipment and things like that. So there's a lot of kind of liability there potentially with having one site. And if you spread that around multiple sites that are, 200 megawatts, you're a little bit more protected because if one goes down, well, that's only a certain percentage of your horsepower. They're basically coming down and you can still function otherwise. So yeah, I don't know. That might be a tough thing. Same thing for IREN as well. IREN's got, a 2 gigawatt site. Or IREN, and then Riot's got possibly 600 megawatts. And the other thing I heard them say that they're also open to the 400 megawatts that they have for Bitcoin mining, that they are open to transitioning that into HPCI. So then it's like, okay, then you're kind of getting rid of Bitcoin mining altogether. Everybody's trying to become a data center. It's a hip thing to do, I guess. Well, I was trying to find Mr. Robinson's got a question here. What would be your top 3 miners who have the better fundamentals? When it comes to Bitcoin mining, I would say IREN, Cleanspark, there as well. Mara's definitely improving. Their cost is kind of high too. They got to get their costs down. After that, I would say probably Bitfarms, but they're not growing that much either. Who else is kind of growing here? Hive, but their costs are high as well, so they need to get to scale to lower their overall cost. So those are the ones I'd be kind of looking at. But definitely the top two would be IREN and Cleanspark right now. Let's see. Let's see. Freedom33 says, Riot and Bitfarms using similar messaging sounds merger-like. Maybe. That might be the case. I mean, they're both saying the same things. And would definitely help out. Well, I don't know if it would help them out. I don't know if it would help out Riot by owning shares there if they merge. Maybe that would help out that way. Let's see. Are you out of Bitfarms and Riot? No, I still own Bitfarms there. I own only 1/3 of what I owned. And that's because I've been selling out of them as news was coming out that they're postponing their 21 target for exahash, and then things were getting lowered. So I definitely trimmed quite a bit in profit there. But I'm still right now, and I never owned Riot shares. But I'm still in the red on Bitfarms right now as it is with the shares that I have. My average is a little bit higher than that. And I'm in the green today for Mara. I'm in the green for Cleanspark. I've been in the green for Cleanspark for a long time. And I'm actually in the red slightly for IREN because I bought in at higher prices as well. Okay. What's it going to take miners to get to be more fairly valued? One, I think a lot of these guys are being heavily shorted. We need to get the shorts kind of off our back, and maybe Bitcoin price going up to 125, 150,000 beyond that will help kind of discourage the shorts maybe and have them leave potentially. I don't know. I think that would help them providing consistent good revenues here. Maybe a quarter or two would help also, I think. Possibly even 3 quarters, right? So Bitcoin continues to go up, maybe not as fast, but it slowly goes up. By this quarter it gets to 125,000 maybe or something like that. Next quarter goes up to maybe 140, 150,000, whatever it might be, and then goes up after that to like 175 or some. Consistent growth in Bitcoin I think would also help out, where investors can see that they have consistent growth, and the growth is actually, or the revenue is growing for them as well. Let's see, IFS trades. Think MicroStrategy gonna dump with an ATM. Well, they had came out with an ATM and what was it? Convertible notes is convertible debt a couple months back for like 21 billion. Did they use up all the ATM? I think they used up all their ATM already, but they might be coming out with something. I'm sure if they want to buy more, they're gonna have to do that. Will you buy into Jack Mallers' company, the new MSTR? I'll definitely have to look into it when they finally go through the SPAC deal there. So we'll have to find out what the details are on that, and then we'll look at it. Sarmel says, stay out of Riot and Bitfarms. Definitely do your own research, as always. See, have you seen CEP? Yeah, I do have it here. I believe I've got it down here. Or at least I had it someplace. Where did I put it? I had it in one of my... There it is. I got it. Okay, so let's take a look at CEP here as well. Where do I want to go? I want to go here. There's CEP right here. So I do follow a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely gotten a little crazy here. Continue to be crazy. It was up to $59. It's now down to $50. Yeah, and the valuation on this, let's take a look at the valuation on it really quick as well. What's the market cap on it? Market cap on it is 640 million. And if you think about it, they're going to have about $4 billion in Bitcoin, right? The market cap doesn't really make sense here, but we also don't know what the details are of that SPAC. What is that going to entail as far as number of shares, who's got the shares, things like that. We don't know those things. So that's why I'm a little hesitant right now, because it might get repriced a little bit. But based on this, it definitely seems like it's undervalued if they're going to have the $4.some billion in Bitcoin to start out with. So keep an eye on it, though. Let's see where it goes. Go back here. Okay. Neville, sorry for all the comments. Didn't mean to. No, that's okay. I'll try to pick out some of the best comments in here and talk about them as well. Kite has a question here. Your thoughts on Mara CEO saying about future BTC mining using residential free solar energy? It makes sense. And in that case, do you see public miners die or adopt? I think the miners are going to adopt. So I think what's going to happen later on in the next several years, I don't know when exactly it's going to happen, but I believe the miners are going to try to possibly use some of these SMRs, small modular reactors, right, nuclear reactors, I think they're going to look into that pretty heavily if they're not looking into it already. What is the cost on that? I mean, once you have it, it's just maintaining those things, and you're basically getting almost free electricity. There's obviously some operational expenses there, but for the most part, it's free electricity. They could go that route. You could also, I mean, solar, you need a lot for solar to work properly. I mean, think about it that these miners now are, what, 3,500 watts each, roughly, unless you can bring down the wattage needed for those things, which is going to happen, I think. You may not have the hash rate. I mean, it kind of works in tandem, right? We were seeing that the watts stay close to about 3,000 to 3,500, but the terahash is increasing on those. And what if we just have the terahash stay the same and the watts go down as efficiency improves? At that point, you're definitely going to need less wattage, right? But even then, let's just say they get it down to 3,000 watts. You're going to need, I think you can get panels that are, what, 200 watts, I think? Or is it 20 watts? I can't remember now. It's one of those two. But you're going to need a lot of panels to power one of those things, and you still want to power your house. So, I mean, you're going to need a lot of panels. Right now, it just doesn't seem to make sense to me, at least not right now. Other things, yeah, other ways you could possibly do it. You could have maybe these smaller miners that are only, using up 100 watts to 200 watts. Okay, that kind of makes a little bit more sense, but are you going to be able to compete with the big guys, right? You're going to make a couple bucks there on it, possibly, but it's not going to be anything life-shattering at that point. Sour, no worries there, buddy. If I see something that's inappropriate, I won't comment on it. I won't post it on here, so I try to censor myself a little bit too. What else here? Gary says, long-term, BitDeer, CORZ, Cleanspark, Hive, extreme bargain right now. Yeah, a lot of these guys are extreme bargain. BitDeer, I can understand BitDeer. They have a lot of growth happening here in the second half of the year into next year as well. They're also trying to get a deal with the hyperscaler. They're also generating or building their own ASICs, which is fantastic. CORZ obviously has a huge deal with CoreWeave there. Cleanspark, I think it's the only last pure play Bitcoin miner there. And if everybody else is pausing, that could actually be good for Cleanspark if they continue to grow. They're just going to take market share from those guys even more and just generate more Bitcoin revenue that way. And if we do get an extended cycle, that might actually be really, really good for them. Let's see, what else? Let's see, what do you think about Riot? I don't know, is that like a 2x on Riot or something like that? I'm not sure what that would be. Para says, sold my Bitfarms for MSTU. MSTU up almost 200%. Bitfarms barely recovering 25%. Very nice, nicely done. Para says, made back my losses on that scam. Okay, nice. And then would you say Riot is a sell after the earnings, and do you will dump hard today? I don't know where it was after hours. In the beginning, I think it was actually down a little bit. It wasn't down too much. But I think a lot of the stuff was already expected, priced in potentially on these guys. We knew that Bitcoin coming down, FSB is going to take a hit on it. And then, Bitcoin being down, Bitfarms being down as well is going to take a hit on it. So it was all those things playing into it. I don't know if it's going to dump. As long as Bitcoin continues to go up tomorrow, which we're up right now, 0.71%, up $686 on Bitcoin. It's 97,211. As long as Bitcoin goes up, I think we'll be okay. I think the miners have pretty much bottomed out like a week or two ago, actually. All right, question here from Neville. Your prediction on whether Governor Hobbs of Arizona signs the Bitcoin bill. Oh, gosh, I don't know. I have heard stories that she is pretty tough, and I believe she's a Democrat, if I'm not mistaken there. Will she, go along the party line and block it because for whatever reason they just see Bitcoin as evil and they want to shut it down? Or will she actually go with what the constituents want? I don't know. I mean, Bitcoin, it did pass the House and the Senate there, so we'll see if she signs it. I think it would be great if she did. Maybe change the narrative around the Democrats a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think Bitcoin will break all-time high from? What do I think is going to happen? I think if it happens, well, we're not too far away from it right now. We're only about, 12,000 away from it right now. So it could actually happen this quarter. Bitcoin could go up to 110,000, and that'd be breaking the new all-time high. So it could happen even this month, depending where things go. I mean, it's only the beginning of the month. We got 30 or 31 days left to go in May as it is. So it could happen. I think it might be faster than we think. All right. Let's see here. Chris asks, what percentage of the global hash rate is from public miners versus private miners? The only data I have on that is the miners that I track here. And last month, they were at like 29 or 30% of the network hash rate. So that's only, what is it, 9, 10 miners that are publicly traded that had that much, not including some of the smaller miners, not including Terrawolf in there, others as well that are public but not reporting monthly updates. So for 10 miners having 30% of the market, that's huge. And that's only been growing here. So we'll cover that again later on when all the miners report. So probably next week, I'm guessing, or maybe the following week when they all do finally report. We'll look at that as far as have they actually continued to increase their market share of the network hash rate or not. So we'll look at that later on. Okay, IFS trades, job report and other data tomorrow might shake market. It might, yeah, depending how that comes in. We'll have to see what that is actually like. And then, okay, Chris already covered your question there as well. So I think we're all done. I think we've caught up to everybody. I don't see anything else popping up here. Yeah, so we'll see what tomorrow brings us. We do have another miner added here. We got BitDeer is going to be reporting their financial results on May 15th at 7 a.m. Eastern time. We should probably take out Riot right now because they're already done and over with, so we'll take them out. That's 0 days there. As it is, we'll see when everybody else reports, but we've got Cypher coming up next week along with Core, Hut 8, and Mara as well, and then the following week we'll have BitDeer and whoever else provides it at that point. All right, so we'll cover it all when it does happen. But other than that, thank you so much for coming in, as always, you guys and gals. Greatly appreciate you guys taking the time, especially this late of an hour. It's 10:40 my time, probably, but depending where you are, it could be even morning. So thank you so much. Let's see. Sean has a question here. Last final one. Hello, I have several thousand shares of Riot at 789. I just seemed like it's been stuck. It hasn't shut up like previous. Hopefully it does go up. Yeah, Bitcoin going up, it will bring it up as well. All right, but that's it. Thank you again. Love you all. I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, end of the week, finally. We'll see where we go. I'll see you then.